In the simplest of terms, IndyCar and Formula 1 are very similar. They both involve 20 plus of the fastest drivers and some of the fastest machines in the world racing around a variety of circuits. They're both open wheel series, both have legends of the sport, and both have an event which makes up the Triple Crown. Essentially, in the grand scheme of things, they're both racing series, but there are some differences, and if you're new to IndyCar, I'm going to talk about some of the fundamental differences between the two series, other than the really obvious one that F1 races all around the world and IndyCar just races in North America, and IndyCar also races on ovals. So, as a fellow IndyCar fan looking to help you out if you're new or if you just want a refresher, let Marcus Ericsson's #1 fan, and yes I mean that sincerely, those who know me know I'm literally his biggest fan, take you through the rules to clear things up. IndyCar and Formula 1, what are the main differences? We won't dive too much into the difference between IndyCar and F1's actual cars because that's kind of self-explanatory. The main things to note are that the 2022 F1 cars are much more similar to Indy cars than the 2021 ones just because of how much simpler the aerodynamics is. Hopefully F1 is therefore influenced by IndyCar in the sense that the effect of dirty air will be reduced. The other important things to note are that when IndyCar races on a super speedway, think of Texas or the Indy 500, they use much smaller wings for downforce is not as important and straight line speed is at a premium. In the same way that F1 cars use thin wings at Monza and really thick ones in Monaco, IndyCar uses their road course spec for everything except super speedways where they use their speedway spec. The Indy cars also use an aero screen as their head protection device rather than a halo, meaning the cockpits in Indy cars get searingly hot and there is no power steering on an Indy car, meaning they're really physically tough to drive. Whilst there is also no DRS, IndyCar uses a system instead called push to pass. And hey, wouldn't you know it, I've scripted this, so push to pass is the next thing to talk about.
Oh yes. Sometimes my genius is... it's almost frightening.
Push to pass is IndyCar's way of making overtaking a bit easier. For an F1 fan, think of it like DRS combined with ERS on the F1 game. In general, drivers get 200 seconds worth of push to pass to use throughout the entire race at their own discretion. Note this only applies to road courses and street circuits. Push to pass gives a driver an extra 60 horsepower, helping them blast past competitors or defend from a rival. Some tracks only allow for 150 seconds of push to pass. Drivers can use it in bursts of up to 20 seconds or 15 seconds when you only get 150 seconds worth of push to pass at a race, and they can use it to help attack or defend, a bit like the overtake button on the F1 game. However, unlike ERS in F1, once your 150 or 200 seconds is up, that's it, no more extra horsepower for you. It is similar to DRS because it is only activated 2 laps after the start of the race. And the same applies to safety car, known as full course yellows in IndyCar, restarts. Talking of race starts, that's exactly where we're going next. I should do this for a job, shouldn't I? I won't talk about the qualifying format because my great friend Dylan, whom I do a post-race IndyCar podcast with on his channel, which you should definitely go check out, made a video on the qualifying format, so just go watch that instead once you're finished with this video. So, we get onto the race starts then, and unlike Formula 1, IndyCar begins from a rolling start. In some ways, F1 and IndyCar are slightly similar in this respect because they both do types of formation laps. F1 does 1 lap in grid order before the cars all stop on their grid marks and prepare for the 5 red lights, whereas IndyCar has a few glorified formation laps called parade laps before the safety car peels into the pit, and then it is down to the pole sitter to decide when the race shall begin. Essentially, the pole sitter should let all the other cars line up 2 by 2 in formation, although this is hard on trite street courses as so often the first 12 to 16 cars are actually lined up, and then those left behind basically just start the race from the parade lap, if that makes sense. In the Indy 500, all 33 cars are lined up 3 by 3 by 3 with the pole sitter on the inside, but the principle of the rolling start still stays. There are no red lights in IndyCar starts, only green flags to restart or start a race. The last big change between F1 and IndyCar is the pit stops. Firstly, you'll notice IndyCars can refuel, meaning that fuel strategy plays much more of a role in IndyCar races than it does in Formula 1. For instance, the favourite for the 2021 Indy 500 ran out of fuel under a caution and couldn't get the car refired up in the pit stops. The other things that you'll notice is that whilst F1 cars have over 20 people servicing the car at any given pit stop, in IndyCar only 8 people are allowed over the pit wall onto pit road, up from 7 in 2019 because of the aero screen, so they need someone to wipe it and clean it just for safety purposes. You'll notice notice therefore that IndyCar pit stops are considerably slower than F1 stops, but they're just as intense. With less people to serve the car, if things go wrong, then they can go really wrong. Just ask Graham Rahal at the 2021 Indy 500 what happens when a pit stop goes wrong. So this is another big difference and something exciting to look out for if you're a new IndyCar fan. In this video, I've delved into the biggest differences between F1 and IndyCar. If you are an F1 fan who has opened up their motorsport outlook to this great series, welcome to the community. Hopefully you'll find peace, because there is very little toxicity in this community. Unless of course you slander Marcus Ericsson, in which case I will take that extremely personally. It's not like how Verstappen and Hamilton fans seem to go for each other's throats every week. Instead, people genuinely want to help out within this community, and if you do have any more IndyCar queries, stick any other things you want clearing up in the comment section below. But if you did enjoy this week's video, make sure to leave a like and let me know what you thought of it in the comment section below. Subscribe if you are new around here and want to see motorsport content, and I will catch you in the next one. Later guys.